Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the latest episode of Supernatural Despair. And this episode was really kind of strange. And the reason is there's two moments that we do get some character stuff going on. One of them I liked vastly more than the other. And other than that, it really gets into stupid kind of territory. Mainly because of how things kind of work out. So let's kind of start from the beginning. We see that Jack is gotten into a point where he is ready to explode, and they're trying to figure out how to deal with it. Jack, of course, doesn't want to hurt anybody, and especially doesn't want to hurt his family, so he's like, please don't let me hurt you, as they're trying to figure out what to do. And of course, that's when Billy shows up and be like, you fucked everything up. And they're like, we're on to you. And she's like, okay, we got to figure out what to do with this thing, because there's not a lot of places and a lot of beings that can, like, kind of deal with this. And of course, they're like, yeah, you kind of pissed off the Empty. What about that thing? It's like, well, it's weaker than Chuck and Amara, but it's vast, so let's just teleport his ass out there and kind of see where this goes. So, of course, Billy does that. He pops up in the Empty, and of course the Empty's like, hey, what are you doing here, bro? And he's like, sorry about this, and blows up. And it sounds funny when I'm explaining it, but when you're actually watching it, the kind of poor execution of it is what really gets you, and you're like, okay, that's happening. And then, of course, we see that the Empty is reforming itself. It's like, it's pissed off. It's like, oh, you made it loud. It's like, what is... Okay? Can you explain a little more what that kind of means for this? You know? And she's pretty much just got him in like a death grip kind of thing. And Billy's like, yeah, I'll bring Jack back if you give me Chuck's death book. Like, oh, you're probably going to kill us after you get it anyway. Well, you don't have much of a notice. It's like, aha. And it's just... You don't really get any tension or any sense of real drama from it, because you... It's just not there. It's like, alright, fine. Sam gives it to her. Of course, he's got to be kind of pissy about it and make her pick it up. She's looking at him like, oh, okay. And the thing is, you're like, why is Jack alive? Because that thing should have friggin' killed his ass. And she's like, alright, cool. And brings him back. She's like, you know what? I'm going to keep this dude. Even though he doesn't really have any powers yet. We kind of get that in the episode, but it's like, alright. And at this point, you're thinking, Billy's kind of being pretty stupid by just, like, leaving her sights right over there, huh? Yeah. Well, I'm like, Dean, pick it up. Somebody, pick it up. It's just right there. Just right fucking there. But Dean picks it up and takes a slice at Billy, and she gets injured, and it's like, fuck, and then pieces out. It's like, oh, okay. Alrighty then. And this is where it kind of diverges from where I thought with what was going on with the teaser that we had seen last week, where I thought Billy was going to be like, I'm pissed, and it starts going on a rampage and whatnot, because that's how it was kind of edited to be. No, instead we get through what I will describe as this show's other execution of the Thanos snap. This time with people actually dusting to a degree. Granted, there's no dust left behind, but they poof smoke, and it's like, really? I don't mind doing homages to certain things. It's very hard to have truly original things anymore, but it's all down to how you execute those ideas. Take vampires, for instance. You got Bram Stoker's Dracula on one hand, and you got Twilight on the other. Very different executions and very different interpretations of the lores of what goes on with vampires. Same thing here. It's like, okay, are you just trying to riff on Endgame here? Because it really doesn't work. And it doesn't really help that the last time we saw, like, the Apocalypse World people, most of them have been annihilated by Apocalypse Michael. And the thing is, we get into this part where they're like, yeah, we've been trying to, like, contact their universe's Michael. He's not answering the prayers because plot demands it, because you would think he would really be more invested in, he's Chuck is destroying the universe, and the Archangels were set to be kind of primordial forces of the universe. At least the last time I checked. Who knows? They rewrite the lore on continuous bases, even within episodes, and it just... Alright, whatever. So, we go to Alt Charlie. She's eating eggs with this other hunter chick, and then the hunter chick disappears. Of course, they start getting calls of things going a little bit wonky and weird, and then they decide to split up. Sam is going to, they go and decide to investigate this, and we get a cool scene with Cass and Jack kind of explaining how he's feeling and everything. And this was really good. I liked that they dived into Jack's character of what he's feeling and what's kind of going on, and it really lent kind of a credence that Cass and Jack as a spin-off show, or some kind of thing where they actively, devoted time to them exploring things and exploring their relationships and, who they are as characters, would have worked out a lot better. Because Jack is like, I don't have my fate or my destiny anymore, because I was supposed to take out Chuck and Amara, and this would have been right, and everybody would have been okay with that. But I didn't do that. Now I don't have my powers, and I can't protect anybody, and I'm afraid. And that was really... I liked that. Okay? You see a lot of my reviews, and I do point out the negative bits, but I liked when they got into this part with Jack. I'm like, wow, that's good. And the thing is, we also got other kind of character things of, Dean commenting on the fact that he pulled a gun on Sam. They didn't go as far as say that shouldn't have happened and trying to, write it off as something, but Sam just whatever. I'm like, no. You both make a big deal about families and being a family and doing stuff for each other and team free will, and what the... But we see that Dean and Sam are talking to Alt Charlie, and she's pissed off that this has happened and trying to figure out what's going on, and it's yeah, they're fighting against God. I mean, collateral like this was going to happen, and they're thinking that it's kind of Billy that they pissed off and that this is what's going on, put everything right and everything, put you into a world that doesn't exist anymore. And Charlie's like, well, then what are we going to do? Well, Sam's going to big up everybody together, because Bobby calls and they talk about everything, and because someone else disappeared. And they're like, alright, let's kind of figure out what's going on. Sam tries to get in contact with Eileen. Of course, we get this whole thing as they're driving through, and it's pretty much such dead space. It's okay, Eileen's gonna get... And then, of course, they get there, and it happens. It's just the dead space of, I know they're trying to convey the tension and the drama, but you don't really get that. So, Sam's we're gonna gather everybody up in essentially a central location, ward it, and see if that works out. Dean's I'm gonna go kill Death. I'm okay. The writers are just let's see if this will work out for Dean this time. I'm alright, I understand characters doing the same thing over and over again, and the kind of insanity of it all, but come on. I'm alright, so Dean's now gonna go off and try and kill Death again. He almost should have a card of how many cosmic deities he has killed at this point, and get a free burger or something, for crying out loud. God damn it. So then the dead space kind of continues to a degree, because let's go and deal with what's going on with the people. We see that Donna helps them out, finds a centralized location. They go to essentially a silo, put everybody in there, ward it up and all that. We see Jack is trying to help out as best as he can, going as gung-ho. We see Sam even telling him to drive the car and everything. He's only driven once and all that, but we see Sam trying to help Jack out with this. I'm okay, cool. Nice kind of character moment seeing Jack drive off the car, because Sam's usually the one digging into the lore and stuff like that. It was a nice kind of cool thing seeing him do essentially a kind of thing that him and Dean usually do, but of course Sam has to be kind of the older brother, dad kind of role. Be alright, I need to sit here and I need to do this to try and find out more stuff with the warding and all that. So they go, they do that. We see Jack pretty much helping with the warding, and goes near one of the plants, and for some reason it dies. And he's looking at his hand what the hell happened there? And I'm oh God, don't tell me he is going to become like the new Death or whatnot. I don't know. Why do I bring that up? Because it's really strange that he was able to kill a plant with just like waving his hand over it. Because usually Death doesn't touch things or people, which kind of is like broken in here because Billy gets into a confrontation with Cass and fucking chokes his ass out and is touching him. But that was a thing when we had the other Death in the other seasons. Breaking and rule breaking cause nothing fucking matters. I only bring that up because that's one of the only kind of distinct possibilities that I can figure out of what's kind of going on. Now, normally I wouldn't say that that would be a possibility. But when the Lord's changed that the Reapers are angels, and then you get into the portion that if Death is killed, the Reaper that was killed next will become Death. Now, granted, Jack died before that and kind of mucks with that, but I don't know what else to really do unless he's become a new empty kind of being. I don't know. This is just some kind of spitballing because I don't understand what's going on anymore. I'm like, okay, cool, you tease with that. Alright. So, that's important to bring up because while this is going on, Dean's got the scythe. Cass comes with him. They use the key, go into the place. Billy had, like, talked to one of the Reapers and, like, yeah, whatever. I'm pissed off. And she's like, oh, yeah, you thought you'd come and kill me? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm dying. Well, he starts trying to, like, fight her, and it's... with how many times there are enemies that are able to fucking force push his ass. Dean never has any fucking counterattack to that. He tries and swipes at her, and she fucking poof, and it's like, that's it. I'm like, what the fuck? But, of course, Cass tries to help out as well as, like, they do a little back and forth before they get her in a kibosh kind of position, and he's like, stop killing my friends. And he's like, it's not me doing it, it's Chuck doing it. You pretty much killed me with a swipe. I'm like, why? A Nick would kill you? With Death's scythe? You're Death. Usually you'd have to fucking rock tack that motherfucker to fucking do something. But evidently, if you nick someone with Death's blade, that's it. But she's dying, and that's why I'm like, okay, so now we can... if everything is tracking correctly, Death has a vacancy now. If they go after and take out Chuck, Chuck would have a vacancy, as well as taking out Amara, and you're just, like, taking out the three central kind of cosmic pillars of the universe. Like, and there's no goddamn plan to fix that. Oh, and during this fight scene, Billy did the force choke and pretty much was choking out Cass on a wall. I'm just like, what fucking ever. He's like, at least I can watch you die. It's like, whatever. She gets out of the way, like, she's able to get her shit back, and they're like, oh shit, she's got the scythe again, so fucking cue the Benny Hill music as Dean and Cass are trying to buck out into the bunker. She, of course, gets there pretty much like, I'm gonna force choke Dean's heart. And they just pretty much, like, go through these hallways as shit's going on, and then Cass wards the door where they're usually in the place, and as we see, we get another giant character moment of Cass and everything. Dean, of course, is lamenting what's going on. It's like, I just wanted to kill something, I wanted to get it done, and I felt like I could kill God. I felt like I could kill God. That fell through. I felt like I could kill Death. That fell through. I'm just stupid. And I'm glad that Dean is attempting to analyze his actions and the consequences of them. That is not where I have the issue. What I have the issue is how this is all executed and how this is all going down. It's like, Death's knocking on the door to take down the warding, and then, of course, we get Cass pretty much explaining his feelings towards Dean. Now, when I'm going into what problems I have with this, okay, I don't have a problem with Cass saying that he loves Dean. I don't have a problem with Cass crying during this. However, with how it was directed and how it was shot, it was really kind of strange and didn't feel right. Again, going back to when Dean and Sam were having their kind of like crying thing of going on with like Jack and Cass, it didn't feel emotionally connected with what was going on. This felt more emotionally connected with like the series' ending, and I'm feeling that more than I'm feeling what's going on now. Because Cass's whole thing is he made a deal with the Empty, and like in his happiest moment, the Empty would come and take. And he's figuring that out now. It's like the only thing that would take out Billy at this moment would be the Empty. So he's pretty much going to summon the Empty to take his ass and her ass and have that done. I'm like, okay, but you should leave Death's Scythe because that would be a helpful fucking tool. Because evidently all you gotta do is run up to Chuck and go, and fucking like paper cut his fucking ass and but he's explaining all the good qualities of Dean, and the thing is, another portion of this feels like it's more for the Destiel fans, of the people that think that Castiel and Dean should have gotten together. And sure, it's a fanfic and everything like that, and I don't have a problem with you having your fanfic and everything, but the problem is the show doesn't really do the work to kind of get to that level of like, oh, okay, they love each other. I mean, you always kind of felt that, and that they had a brotherly family kind of thing going on, and it just didn't feel right. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get Castiel finally expressing that he loves someone. That's an important and big kind of step. It's just, it feels more like it was done with the Destiel kind of nature in the way, rather than, okay, him as a brother loving Dean. You know what I mean? Because it was always kind of weird how they tried to do Dean and Cass's relationship. Because I, at least in the beginning, got the thing of, like, as they started going on, it definitely was like a brother kind of thing. They're part of the family and everything. It's just how it came off to me as it was going. I'm like, oh, okay. Because if you want to go at that route, I don't mind that. That's fine. But you need to put in the work to do that, and you need to have it hit perfectly. And that's not how it went down here. Because we have Cass saying that he's really happy, and that he really loves Dean, and that he loves all this stuff about him, about how he's selfless, and yeah, he's got anger issues and everything like that, but he's saved so many people and done so many things. I'm like, yeah, but lately the plot has demanded that he's a dumb asshat and does fucking stupid shit. That is not me thinking that Dean is those things, because that's his character being changed to do stupid fucking things. Game of Thrones all over again. Tyrion going from a dude who could fucking outwit all these crazy ass motherfuckers to being like, okay, let's just see how this goes on. This dude has the greatest story. No. So, we see that going on pretty much. Billy pops on through, and evidently this is Cass's happiest moment. I don't get that, okay? I understand that you'd be happy in expressing your love for someone like that, and coming to terms with your emotions, and having that kind of catharsis and everything. God has pretty much decided to destroy all of existence and everything. Now, granted, there can be people that can have that kind of happiness, but I'm like, your happiest moment is knowing that even if you sacrifice yourself, your people are still in a shitty-ass position to try and even take on this giant king douchefuck, intent on destroying all of existence, and they got nothing. Where you could at least be in some kind of position to kind of get it to an endgame goal that works out, either with a sacrifice or with some kind of play, and then at the end of that, that's your happiest moment, soaking in that victory, And then that's your happiest moment, and you get jacked out. Fine, cool, that I get. This, I'm just like, they don't really sell that this is like Castiel's happiest moment. As then we see a portal to the empty open up, drags him in, and then fucking goes around stupidly and drags in Billy with her scythe as well, I believe. Now, see, the thing is, Castiel also pushed Dean out of the way, leaving a bloody palm print on his shoulder, reminiscent, of course, when he dragged him out of hell. And then Dean, of course, is crying and everything and just very depressed about what has happened. And that's where you see him at the end of the episode. While that is going on, in the bunker, we see them doing all that kind of stuff. We see Donna trying to interact with Jack, which is kind of strange because she's like, hey, kiddo. And then we see her kind of interacting with him. I'm like, has she interacted with Jack before? I don't really remember that much of that. And it's just, now granted, a lot of crazy as shit's going on. But they're in the bunker. Bobby's pep talking to him. Well, not bunker, but it's essentially the bunker in the silo. And they're doing all this stuff. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, everybody gets fucking... And we have no explanation other than what's going on with the whole Chuck thing. I'm like, why do this in this weird kind of way? And, of course, we see Donna get puffed, too. And I'm like, oh, fuck this shit. And we see that nobody's able to really call anything. We see Jack's trying to figure out what's going on, what's figuring out with him. And, of course, Sam's trying to get into contact with Dean and having no luck because of everything that went on. And it's just like, oh, okay. And evidently this is the end of Cass. This was the send-off for Cass. And it really fucking sucked. And I don't mean in the outcome that occurred. Cass sacrificing himself by summoning the Empty to take on and take out Billy works on paper. Again, what I come down to is the execution of how that works, and this just doesn't work. Granted, a little bit of better kind of taste, a little bit better direction in what was going on and what could have happened could have helped out tremendously, but of course this season has been the worst erratic quality ever. And only consistent in like how I'm like, wow, how is this going to kind of take, what kind of new low are we going to get now? And then I'm like, well, that happened, so okay. And Castiel and Misha Collins as the actor deserve better than this. Okay? Fans deserve better than this. Everybody deserves better than this. It isn't the worst thing that I have seen as a character send-off, but it's definitely within that top realm. So, we now have all those hunters gone. And from the teaser of the next week episode, we see that pretty much everybody, except a random fucking dog that Dean finds, has been Thanos dusted. So, they have to go off and search out some shit. We now have 2 episodes left. Plus a retrospective. Ugh. I don't even know how to explain what's going on to people because it is so erratic. It's like, okay, we have 2 episodes left. And we don't know how they're going to effectively fight God / Yamara combo. We don't know how they're going to handle the power vacuum of Death being now sucked into the Empty and then dying because of the fatal wound. We don't know how they're going to even bring back anybody because even if they take, somebody would have to become God to bring all these people back. Otherwise, you just have Sam, Dean, and Jack and a dog by themselves in a universe that would probably fuck off and destroy itself after its pillars of creation are destroyed. We don't even understand what the cosmological effects would be of all these pillars and foundations being taken out. It should then be that the universe is destroyed and that they have had no ability to even combat this. That does not make for a good run up to an end. That's just like, they shouldn't have done anything. There's nothing they can do. Okay, there needs to be some kind of way for the heroes to even attempt a resistance or a fight against them. Even if it's just essentially because Chuck is acting like a fanfic motherfucker, if they just sit in a corner going, nanny, nanny, boo, boo, we're not doing anything, nanny, nanny, boo, boo, while he's like, do something, do something. And then you just see them doing random, odd, opposite day stuff. Or just being like, intentionally working against the writer's actions. Fuck! Even if they went Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes kind of route, where Dean finds a magic fucking pencil that allows him to erase shit and write in shit and find the person that is drawing their universe kind of animated cartoon style. That's something. But here, it's like, they got nothing. Because their antagonist is the creator of the universe. What do you do against that? Well, evidently, the show Preacher, which went nutty ass beyond, and even I used to review that, but I saw the end of it, they had at least a better way to deal with their god than what is going on here. I don't even know how this shakes out for the ending, because if you were just trying to figure out the story based off of what we got here, they've lost and there's no way to even try and bring it back. They're gonna have to MacGuffin ass pull shit from fuck all everywhere to even attempt to try and do this, and it's gonna be like you need 30 fucking MacGuffins to fucking grind out a level 100 splooge demon to even try and fucking figure out what's going on here. To even try and, like, effectively fight it. It'd be like, I need Dean to eat 30 fucking grilled cheese sandwiches, lactose intolerate himself into a power bomb, and then transform into Demon Lord Fuckface, and... I know that makes almost no sense. But that's kind of where we're at, because there's no clear, effective way for them to fight other than they have now been handed something to do this because reasons, and I'm almost expecting that Dean finds a phone or something and gets to call Chuck's dad, and it's like, evidently, even before Chuck and Amara, there was God's dad, and God's dad's like, you are doing stupid shit. And then fucking nut checks him and fixes shit and then puts him in timeout for like eternity. That could actually work pretty well if it was done and executed well, but like anything on this show anymore, I don't have that faith. I'm just sliding down like, here we go. Where are we going? To the bottom. Is there a bottom? I hope there is, because it needs to stop. I don't like being just disappointed about what's going on with the show. I don't like constantly pointing out the same negatives over and over, because they don't change these things. It's just so draining. It's like, come on, people. I know you don't want to put out a crappy product. I don't want you to put out a crappy product. I want this to be really good, to look and be like, you know what? Even though that was an hour of TV, it felt like it was effectively utilized. But no, I watch this stuff and they keep doing the same things over and over, and I'm like, well, that's an hour of time I wish I had back. So we'll have to see what they do in the next couple episodes. No, I can't say couple episodes. The next 2 episodes. It's gonna be fucking nutty as shit, man. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.